So good afternoon, good evening. Thank you everyone for coming out for our last hour of content. This is going to be an exciting hour. We have had some phenomenal recruiters who have given up their time, flown in from the East Coast to give resume review and career mentoring. But these are also friends of mine that I've worked with for 10, 15 years. Other than the guy on the end, I've only known him for 2 years. But these guys really want to help you figure out what you need to know about hacking the hiring process. Really sort of breaking it down and saying, screw it, I'm frustrated. What can I do next? So I would like to introduce my dear friend, Pete Radloff. Take it away.
Thanks. How's everybody doing? Boom. Oh, that was a very good response for 5:30 at night. I appreciate that. It's probably way better than the 2:30 slot where everybody's comatose from lunch. So we're going to walk through a lot of things like Kathleen said today, and some of that's going to start with some pointed questions for you guys as well, because we really want to get a better sense of where the pain is from your end, and then really be able to parlay that into some insight from our end. So just to give some quick intros, I'm Pete Radloff. I'm the principal technical recruiter for ComScore. We're a consumer behavior analytics firm based out of Reston, Virginia. I've been there probably 8 out of the last 12 years or so. Steve?
I don't work at ComScore. I'm Steve Levy. I'm an engineer crossed over to the dark side. The dark side being HR and recruiting. You see, these are my HR tattoos, in case you were wondering what they are. Been recruiting for damn near 30 years now, and I have my own consulting firm, and one of my clients is actually Lockheed Martin. So there's a shitload happening in the cyber hiring space there. And by the way, this session is sponsored by Red Bull because we're all freaking tired right now.
Yeah. Kirsten?
Is this on? Hi, I'm Kirsten Renner. I am the Director of Recruiting at Novetta, and they are a complex analytics firm in Northern Virginia. And gosh, I've been doing this recruiting thing for 20-something years. So.
And she's only 29.
And yeah, I started when I was 9 years old, obviously.
Mommy, Daddy, I want to recruit people.
Yeah, and so my favorite part of summer camp is the car hacking village that will be happening at DEF CON. If you're going to DEF CON, stop by and see me. I'll be the one selling badges. And or I'll be the one an hour into it saying, sorry, we got sold out of badges already. And for giving away a truck.
All right. Chris?
Yeah. Hey there. So I'm Chris Rides. I've got a company called Tyro Security. We're an information security staffing company and also a professional services company based out of Los Angeles. Started it 5 years ago, and I've been in the business for 20 years, and it's the third year speaking here. So looking forward to it. It's always interesting. Always get some interesting questions.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we wanted to start off with initially is to really get your perspective on something. So, and free form, show of hands, scream it out. What frustrates you about working with recruiters?
Recruiters are...
Don't you lie to me. I know something does.
Fill in the blank. Recruiters
I see
are...
you out there.
I don't know what they're recruiting for.
Okay, great. They don't understand technology. Great. Yep.
A number of them seem to have a high sleaze factor.
Very
Yes.
true.
That's fair. That's fair.
Very true. Snow to
That's fair.
Eskimo and shit to flies.
I find my better candidates myself than they do.
Okay, so you're doing your own recruiting. Okay, and these are your in-house recruiters?
Yes.
Okay,
Damn.
gotcha. I think we see a lot of that frustration from the candidate side of things, right? And I think we realize that there's a lot more that happens behind the scenes than I think what you realize when somebody clicks apply, right? And I'm in no way, means, or shape justifying the resume black hole that a lot of things seem to go into. You put it in there, you never hear back, you get an email, the position's closed, but you've never heard anything, one way or the other around the feedback of your interview, why you didn't get the job, what you could have done better, etc. And I think one of the things that we believe in, and please everybody correct me if I'm wrong here, that feedback is important. It's important for us to make sure that we're giving that feedback. Now, because we live in an incredibly litigious society, that becomes a little bit hairy sometimes, but it is something that we feel has to really be part of the process in order to make it a hire, right? We want to make a good hire. We want to make a strong hire. We want you coming in the door feeling that you've been able to make the right decision for your career. When you guys think about this, and particularly looking at the InfoSec portion of things, what is important to you all as recruiters, people who are looking at these backgrounds? Is it certifications? Is it training? Is it a very nebulous type of passion that you can't put to paper? What's important to all of you when you look at these backgrounds?
So the talk that happened a little bit ago, 2 talks ago, one of the pieces of advice that's very important was they were saying that the recruiter needs to make a connection and talk to the individual about themselves, right? So it goes both ways. So that the connection should be, there should be one piece where you connect, where you relate. I'm going to tell you, I haven't actually directly recruited in a while, but one of the things I was horrible at was looking at the applications. Isn't that awful? It was the last place I would look. You would think that would be the first place I would look. But truly, so many of the applicants that applied for the positions weren't qualified, so often so that would be the last place I would look. Isn't that awful? So the same way the recruiters are reaching out to you and you're a systems engineer and they're asking you if you want to be a Java programmer, and that's frustrating as hell, right? It happened 10 times today. The connection isn't happening on both sides. Is part of the problem. So I think that one of the best things that they said earlier was do the Kevin Bacon thing, right? This is a really small community, and everyone that you know is only a few connections away from somebody else that you know. Start with talking to someone in your community that had a good recruiting experience. That's going to be rare. And when you reach out to that recruiter and say, I got your name, recruiter Jim, from my colleague, they're going to pay more attention to you. They're going to remember you because it started through a genuine relationship. Does that make sense? So you're not just another applicant anymore, and they're not just another recruiter anymore, and you just started a valid relationship. And I think it's going to be a lot more fruitful for both of you.
Yeah, definitely. I think that will help. I think this lady mentioned like recruiters not knowing what they're talking about, and there are plenty of those. And the sleaze factor comes into that because they bullshit their way through what they're doing, right? And very quickly you get to tell that. So if you want to find a good recruiter, you need to go where you'd expect the real recruiters to be. So, to go to your ISSA meetings, go to your OWASP meetings, go to your Cloud Security Alliance meetings, because first off, a majority of the ones going there are doing it out of their own time, right? They're not getting paid to do it, so they're passionate about what they're doing. They're willing to spend their own time understanding and learning about what we do. And it's surprising how much you can actually gain. That's a great place to actually find the people that kind of know what they're talking about. I will also say when I'm hiring for, and I run an external agency, so when I'm hiring for people, I don't tend to look for people necessarily with technical experience. In fact, in my experience, it's not been a great way to recruit people. That's not to say there aren't amazing people, including up here, that have been excellent. But sometimes when people have a technical background, they feel like they can question the people that are coming in to the level of somebody that, you're talking to somebody that's got 8 years experience and, you've studied cybersecurity and you think that you can have a level conversation in it. You end up going too far down that road. So I think having a knowledge about recruitment and gaining it from those sort of places will certainly help them have those conversations with you. But, don't expect them to know as much as you guys do, because they won't.
Go ahead. Yeah, please.
There are some fundamental problems with recruiting. Now, recruiting's not broken. Just like it's the problem is we have this barrier to entry problem. There's very little barrier to entry to become a recruiter. In fact, that's how many folks who started on the agency side, their first jobs were, here's a phone book. Or here's a list. It's on the computer. When I started, there were phone books and 3x5 cards, and 12. Well, actually less than 1,200 baud dial-up. It's another story. But the problem is that No, and to your point, the fact that you're better than your recruiters at recruiting people, there is a point, in my opinion, where all this stuff could really get a heck of a lot better, and and you folks are part of the solution. We hire people to solve specific problems. In your case, you might have specific, cyber challenges related to product, related to customers. You have some sort of architecture drawing, and there are X's where red X's where there are issues there. We hire people to solve problems. We don't hire people to simply be task wranglers. In every job description that you see, every job description by companies that are exhibiting here, they're not recruiting documents. They don't give you any insight into what specific problems keep the hiring manager awake at night. Now, I don't know your name back there, and I should clairvoyantly know that, but I don't. Jameson. A very, very good name for
yeah, it is.
Several reasons. But Jameson, and I'm going to have a little conversation with him, and it may help. When you have an open job, you meet with your recruiters, and they say, well, what's really special? What do they really need? What are the must-haves? Things of that nature. Do they ever ask you what specific problems are not getting done by the existing staff, and what specific things what specific problems, if they were solved by the new person, would allow you to sleep at night? They don't go to that. And typically they'll say, you may say, well, it's in the job description. Or I'll send me more resumes, I'll know it when I see it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work like that. I want to know specifically, this is the current situation, the current state. This is the problem. This is the desired outcome. And this is how I think we're going to get there. I think it behooves you, as folks looking for jobs, to press the recruiter, whoever reaches out to you. If you see something posted, don't just blindly apply to it, knowing that it's a generic job description. Again, most every company here, if I take their name out of the posted job description and I put in one of their competitors, that JD job description will be just as valid for those companies. You're trying to read minds of companies instead of directly applying. Maybe ping them right back. Find out Jameson's email. Because he's a popular fellow. You can find his email, and if he has a job listed, ask him. In the first 90 to 180 days, what specific problems will I be asked to solve? What are the deliverables? Mm-hmm. Be more active in that, and don't take from a crappy recruiter, well, just send me your resume and we'll talk about it. Mm-hmm. Be an educated consumer, and push back. I'm sorry, I'm just not really making much sense.
I think that's that's a great point, and actually line managers and hiring managers are much more likely to do that when it's a contract position. They're much more likely to give you more information on the projects you're doing and stuff. But then when they turn to permanent, that goes out the window, right? It's there, it's on your spec. So you're spot on.
I mean, again, it's about, where your expertise is. What specific problems you're really good at. There's nothing wrong with when you see a posted job, instead of applying, instead of applying, reply back with, these are the kind of problems I've solved. These are the kind of things I'm doing right now. I can't tell from your job description whether it's there or not. Can you tell me if these are the kind of things that you're working on?
It's a good segue too, because I think when you look at that, I think the table turns as well too, right? So a lot of times, and I focus primarily on infrastructure development and DevOps. So a lot of times what I find in that interview process, and this is really with me, right? Now, I'm not an engineer. I'm not Levy, who went to the dark side. But I've spent almost 20 years with engineers and sat there watching them code and asking questions. And what does that mean? And why are you doing this? And why do we do it this way? And that helps me to do my job a little bit better. When we get to the interview stage, and I find this more often with technical people than non-technical people, they say, tell me about your role. Tell me about the stack, and I want to know what you do. What I'm not looking for with that is to just regurgitate the bullet points. What I want to know is, what did you work on that really changed the game where you are today? What did you work on and have your fingerprints on there that if they lost you, they wouldn't know what to do? And what makes you attractive to another company, and going into that detail and understanding and quantifying, right? So I go ahead and I do, so when I talk to a Java developer and he says, or she says, I went ahead and I patched up some scripts and we got everything running. I'm like, okay, great. What did that mean for you? Well, it meant we went from 3 hours of data processing time to 86 seconds. And that's what I want to know. That's what I want to know, the tangible impact of where that is. And I think a lot of times people get so worried that they need to spit out all their keywords and all their skill sets in this 20-minute conversation that they're going to have with the recruiter, where that'll get fleshed out in the next call. I'm okay with that. That'll get fleshed out in the next call. What I want to know is if you could talk about business problems and you can tell me how you solved them, what the impact is for your company or for your client while you're doing that.
The word that Pete's referring to, it's legacy. What's your legacy and at your current, if you were to leave your current job now or your past job, what do they remember you most from? What did you give to the group that they realized in hindsight was pretty damn good?
Mm-hmm. What about those interviews? Are there other faux pas or mistakes that you see people make in interviews that are pretty avoidable?
So, go ahead. So, by the way, I would like to see the conversation shift and be less about the position and more about the candidate, and have it be more about their experience. The more you learn about the person, you may end up, because I'm guessing every company that every one of you works for and that we all work for has more than one position available and more than one type of job that people are doing there. So just because you're over here doing XY widgets doesn't mean that you're not capable of doing a whole other thing, right? And in addition to what did you do, and did you take it from 3 hours down to 86 seconds? Instead of just always mentioning to me the things that you did, these tangible, good, measurable things that you did, what did you mess up at? What did you break? What did you fail at? And what did you learn from it? That conversation, and by the way, I steal that from an interview I did a million years ago at RIT with some kid that was graduating, and he was literally only 17 years old, a genius person. But he said, there was this robot, and he built the robot, and it's a really long story, and it's amazing, and it's interesting, and the robot blew up. He was trying to get it across the street, and then we talked about what did he learn from that. So I'm guessing that he always has a fire extinguisher handy now, right? Sure. And then none of his robots are blowing up anymore. So he actually invited me into a whole different part of his problem-solving skills, and just a level of humility from this person that's always had like a 5-point whatever, right? Because he failed. He blew the robot up. So talk to the individuals about their experiences, about their work experiences, about the things that they learned and how they learned them. Because you're going to end up finding out, that person would work perfectly on blah, blah, blah team. So the recruiter shouldn't make it about the job. Never, ever. They should make it about the candidate. And some of the best recruiters, and there's people in the room that have done this, they're going to go, you know what, candidate? I'm listening to you. I hear you. I want to hire you. I can hire you. But I also know this guy named Peter, who has an environment that sounds like it's going to be a lot better for you. And then we just established another important relationship, right? And candidate's going to remember that happened, and I didn't fill my job. I didn't do my job today. I didn't fill the position, but I just did a good thing. So I want the conversation to be less about the job. So you, as the candidate, switch it around if the recruiter's not doing their job and making it about you. Somebody over here?
Yeah, actually, I was just going to switch it around, saying even better. I got an upgrade. So from the candidate point of view, to switch it around, how can we ferret out the good recruiters from the bad? And I actually recently had a very long and significant amount of time wasted by a recruiter and an actual end company they were recruiting for. So I think that's kind of my questions, is how can we get through some of those key points that are deal breakers and not offend the relationship, and still hopefully keep it open for the next job they have and keep calling you back.
I think there's a couple of things there, right? I never get off the phone with a candidate without asking them one question. What's most important in your next role? What is it? Is it growth? Is it money? Is it stability so you're not going from contract to contract to contract? What is that thing that you need most that you can absolutely not take this job without? And I get a little peer into their psyche. I get to understand what family life looks like for them. I get to understand if they're an early bird or one of those people that's not going to be scheduling any meetings before 10 a.m. Get to understand a bunch of those things that I think are really important for that. The second thing is test them. If they say, I'll give you an update on Tuesday, and it's Thursday and you haven't heard anything, you got your answer. I have no update for you is still an update. You know that you're still top of my mind and you are still important to me and I'm working on it, but I just need to tell you I need a little more time. If you're not getting that level of concentrated commitment, then I think you can kick that recruiter to the curb.
So a quick follow-up, would you suggest doing that slightly early in a relationship? So from kind of first contact, would you actually ask for a follow-up to see if they even just follow up as a test the waters?
Sure, why not? Sure, well, yeah, absolutely. And I tell them, look, sometimes I get slammed during the day, and if you don't hear from me by Tuesday, call me. In and fact, I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I'll double down on that one. I'll give people my phone number. I said, look, I hope to call you with an update by so-and-so, but just like Pete, I am swamped every which way to Sunday, and if you don't hear from me by a certain time, call me or text me.
If you know what your deal breakers are, there's nothing wrong with presenting those right up front to your recruiter and saying, that this is what my situation is right now. It does not necessarily mean that all of these things will be deal breakers for me in the future. But right now, this is where we're at. And, if that's not going to fit their role, you're not wasting their time. You're not wasting yours. You said that you...
I've done that. The counter is they never call me back.
Well, there's your answer.
Yeah. I mean, and if it doesn't fit what you're looking for right now, the other thing you mentioned, you said the recruiter and the ultimate end client. So were you dealing with an agency?
In this case.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah, I'm still unclear.
And tell me if you guys agree with this, but leverage Glassdoor to your advantage. If you're having a really shitty experience with a recruiter, let that company know. I respond personally to all of the Glassdoor reviews for my company, and it crushes my soul some days. But hell, if I don't have a dummy email that we set up for the company that if I need to get more specific information from somebody about a crappy experience they had, here's an email address you can reach me at directly.
You haven't had a chance to talk. I'm gonna say this really quickly. If you only remember one thing I ever said, remember that the recruiter that you're talking to, they want it to work, right? They want this to be successful, right? So they're already on your side. They are your advocate. So make them your best advocate because you're the champion of you. Because nobody knows what you want better than you do. If you're not telling me the right story, I'm not selling you the way you need to be sold. So I said this to somebody earlier. So you've done this and you've done this and you've done this and you've done this. So if I take away the wrong story from either what you told me because you think I wanted you to hear, that's what I wanted to hear, or don't do that. Just be the true you. Because if you pretend to be whoever the recruiter wants you to be, and I'm sorry, I apologize on behalf of every recruiter that sucks that you have to get through to get to whoever else the next person is. But if you sell the wrong thing, then you are going to get fit into the wrong spot, right? So you're doing yourself an injustice. Be who you truly are. Say the types of environments that you enjoy working in, and recruit the recruiter a little bit, right? Interview them, talk to them, ask them to tell you stories, actual stories. Recruiters like to talk. Have you ever noticed? We like to talk. Make them tell you a story about the environment, about the problems, make them tell you good things and bad things.
Let me go back one more thing, because we talked earlier. This is how you know the fakers, the pretenders from the real recruiters. The real recruiters know what the job truly entails. if they go back to the JD, the job description, saying this is the real job, they either don't know what the real job is, or they're just making shit up as they go along. Real good recruiters will know what the deliverables are for this position within a reasonable time frame. And if they don't, then they're merely assessing you for the presence of buzzwords.
Chris, how about you from the agency side? You see a whole different perspective of this, and much to your point, it's different working with an agency recruiter than it can be with corporate sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely is, because we're looking at a broad range of clients, a broad range of jobs. But actually, there's a lot, the similarities are the same. If you're never honest with them about what you're looking for, you're going to get matched up with things that you're not interested in. And there's nothing more frustrating for you than getting phone calls about jobs that you're not interested in, right? So absolutely being completely honest and open. And I know, you'll read a lot of articles about not telling your recruiter about this, or, holding it back until the end. We're there to try and get you the job. If you hold anything back to the end, they're the surprises that don't get solved, right? Then you get the job offer you're not looking for or expecting. So I would definitely say that keeping open and honest and answering all of the questions honestly is going to get you much nearer to the job that you're looking for. I think from an agency, other than that, we're looking at multiple clients. So we're trying to assess from the business side what they're looking for and getting them to sell each of that company's sort of big points. And actually one of the most frustrating things for us is not getting to speak to the person that put the job spec together, and getting to ask those questions, which are really the questions that we need to know if we're going to fill that position. And I will say that often by the time we get the role, we can get positions that have been open for 6 months. We filled one 3 weeks ago that was open for almost 9 months before they came to us, and we filled it in 3 weeks. And we just spoke to the line manager, and the line manager had a similar story to Jameson, in that internally they hadn't had the conversation, and the questions that I asked weren't the same questions that their internally were asking. And we found candidates, a completely different pool of candidates, when they hadn't seen any resumes for like 2 months.
By the way, don't be afraid. People are scared of agency, right? I'm going to say this real quick. So there's a difference between insert name of giant agency that you've all heard of and working with someone like this that actually is going to understand what the customer needs and care about you, and they become your agent. So then I end up having to pay them.
Sports agent.
Well,
that's a way to.
No,
think about
it is. Yeah, show me the money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the hardest sales job in the world, right?
Absolutely.
You work with your product to say no.
There you go.
Yeah.
In the interest of keeping us on time for 6 o'clock, questions for us, things we can. Yeah, go ahead.
So I was a hiring manager in a large corporate. Oh, sure. So in my past life, I was a hiring manager at a large corporate, and I spent a lot of my time going around recruiting whenever I possibly could. And I'm just wondering, how could I could never find a way to work effectively with recruiters, because what I would do is, they'd come to me and want a job description, and so what you do is you throw a little bit of everything in IT in there, because that's essentially what the position entails. And somehow, lost in the translation, the nice to haves get turned into hard requirements. And then you end up with a whole bunch of resumes from people who are either lying about having every certificate under the sun, which I don't even care about anyway, or you end up with no resumes at all. So I usually end up just kind of working my network, and the best way to get to me as a hiring manager was a direct referral by either another manager at the company or by somebody who was in my professional network. But I feel like I was doing it wrong. I think that probably I could have done better at this. If you're a hiring manager, how do you not suck at working with recruiters?
Oh boy.
You know exactly where to go with this.
Oh,
one.
Right?
First and foremost, I sort of have to ask it this way. Anyone here, who here is married? Okay. So especially, we'll talk to the hiring manager there who's married, Jameson. When you were first dating, you sort of, you kind of felt, you got to know each other, you found better ways to know each other, get along with each other, then you get married, and then it starts all over again because the toilet seat problems and things like that. You learn how to get along with recruiters by being collectively committed to the same goal. So the part of the problem with the hiring managers don't have these conversations with recruiters, and recruiters don't have these conversations with hiring managers, generally speaking. Like, I would come up to you and say, how would you like us to work with you? Simple conversation like that. Recruiters should say the same thing.
Nobody in 13 years, nobody ever asked me that.
Well, then I'm not going to apologize to the entire profession because,
Stop working with them.
Pardon?
If you're not asking that question, then they're not the ones to work with.
Yeah. The point is, if you're not getting what you want, you know how you like people to work with you. That's on you.
Yep.
It's completely on you to say, this is what I need. How are you going to help me get there?
Yep. And it's up to them to ask those questions, right? Regardless of whether or not I've filled one position with this manager or 101 positions, I need 30 minutes of your time so we could talk about it, because whatever you guys were doing in that group 6 months ago is sure as shit different now. So let's go back, and if everything else is the same, but the projects you're working on and what's coming up in the next 6 to 18 months is different, let's talk about that, because that's different things I can sell. Those are the different things that I can pitch is to somebody who, okay, great, we're going to be moving to the cloud. Awesome. You want to get involved with AWS? You can come into this project here. I now know that that's where we're headed, and we don't need that skill set necessarily, but boy, if we had it, that would be great. And that's not on a job description, and you need to spend 30 minutes with me and just give me the information I need. And then we can switch things on the fly later on if we need to. We could pivot.
Yeah, because in that 30-minute intake session, which I even call it a strategy session, because it implies an ongoing discussion with the hiring manager. This is the stuff that happens behind the scenes. Like, I'll share with, you were a hiring manager once. If anyone here is a hiring manager now or was one, I'll share with you my strategy session form so you can see the questions that I ask of the hiring manager. So you can see how they're very focused on performance, on future strategies, on deliverables, not just tasks and the presence or absence of skills. I want someone who's detail-oriented. That's not a deliverable. That's a subjective assessment of somebody. So the system isn't broken. Y'all need like marriage counseling.
Yeah.
So I think we're almost out of time, but it goes both ways. And two things that are really helpful: if you let the recruiter sit in one of your technical interviews, they're going to listen to you ask questions, they're going to listen to the answers, and they're going to learn. And then, if you will give them 2 or 3 knockout questions to include in their pre-screen when they first talk to, say they don't even know how to spell Java, right? That's how technical your recruiter is. But they're going to get on the phone call, and they're going to ask 20 people today, what is encapsulation and what is polymorphism and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, your recruiter is going to know how to pass a Java interview. Because they're going to understand, because you're going to include them a little bit more in the technical, and they're going to learn. So.
You know what I'd like to see? This is important. When you go on interviews, when you actually get on-site, face-to-face, ask the managers, or the recruiters for a whiteboard, and whiteboard your environment. Whiteboard, and put X's where you were, and draw out, this was the problem, this was the solution. Stand up, don't just use your words, be an active participant in that. Right, Tim? Yeah.
Just remember, code is way more fun than sales quotas.
Substantially.
So let's thank my dear friends Steve, Pete, Kirsten, and Chris for giving us their advice today. Awesome.
Incidentally, if you want to find out more how to work better with recruiters, there's nothing wrong with reading the articles that recruiters write. There are 2. Some of them are pretty good, man. Not all of them are shit.
Some of us are literate.
Some of us really are literate. We can spell cat sometimes, but there's eremedia.com. I'll probably tweet it out into the thing. If you go to eremedia.com, there are blogs that recruiters write articles for, and there's another one called recruitingdaily.com where Pete and I write crap there.
It's not crap, it's good stuff. But we tell you how stuff really works. We tell you what we like, we tell you what we dislike. It's going to help you. And by the way, nothing wrong with, for example, on Facebook, getting into groups where recruiters hang out and just saying, hi, I'm here, help me, and we will. Promise you, we really will.
So let's thank Steve and Chris and Pete and Kirsten.